All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into women and retirement planning.
Yeah, it's a big one, and it's an area where, honestly, there are some pretty significant changes happening.
Huge shifts.
Yeah.
When we look at the landscape, women are really poised to become major financial players. Like by 2030, projections show women in the U.S. will be controlling something like $34 trillion in assets.
34 trillion, yeah. And that's not by accident.
Right, we're seeing more women getting degrees, owning businesses, and they're also living longer.
Longer lifespans are definitely a key factor, and all of this is kind of reshaping who's making the big financial decisions.
Yeah, women are increasingly at the helm. But here's the thing. Even with this financial power on the rise, there's still a pretty big gap when it comes to feeling prepared for retirement.
Right, and that's what we're really digging into today. We're looking at some really interesting research recognized by Diversified Insurance Brokers. They've done some great work on this topic.
So what's the core issue here? Women are taking control of their finances, but there's this disconnect, right?
Yeah, it's like we're seeing these amazing shifts, but the confidence in retirement planning isn't necessarily matching that growth. I mean, think about it. Most women want the same things in retirement. They want to be comfortable, secure, independent, not have to worry about running out of money, not being a burden to anyone.
Those are pretty universal goals.
Totally. Yet this research found that a whopping 87% of women, those between 45 and 64 years old, say they're just not sure if they'll be able to cover their needs in retirement.
87%, that's huge. So why is that? What are the roadblocks here?
Well, there are a few key risks that statistically seem to impact women more than men. The first one is pretty straightforward. Longevity risk.
Meaning women tend to live longer.
Exactly. It's not just a little bit longer either. It can mean needing to fund, 5, 10, even 15 more years of retirement.
Wow, that's a lot to consider.
And the second issue is we see a lot of women end up with lower retirement savings overall.
Is that mostly because of time out of the workforce?
Mm.
For family or caregiving?
That's definitely part of it. Career paths can look different. There might be breaks, and of course, there's still the persistent wage gap issue to contend with.
Right, and less income often means less to save, so it's like a double whammy.
Yeah. Then you add in the fact that healthcare costs tend to be higher for women. Out-of-pocket expenses, the likelihood of needing long-term care, these are all real factors that can really drain retirement funds if you haven't planned for them.
And I imagine the later in life you get, the more these costs become a concern.
Absolutely. And there's another factor that can pop up later in life that can be particularly tough, and that's what's often called gray divorce.
Divorce later in life.
Yeah, and this can be really tough on retirement security, especially for women. Even if the split is completely fair, starting over financially when you're closer to retirement can be incredibly difficult.
Right, it's less time to rebuild and recover.
Exactly. And I think the last point the research really highlighted is that, frankly, a lot of women just don't feel very confident when it comes to making financial decisions for retirement.
That lack of confidence can be paralyzing. So, knowing all this, what can women do?
Well, the research actually points to something really encouraging. It seems like a lot of women are turning to financial advisors for help, even more so than friends or media.
So they're seeking professional guidance.
Yeah, almost half of the women surveyed said they see financial advisors as their top resource for retirement planning.
Which makes sense. Planning for retirement is so much more complex these days. There's a lot to navigate.
Right, and it's not just about picking stocks. It's about understanding your individual situation, your risk tolerance, your goals, and then creating a plan that works for you.
And I bet having that expert in your corner can boost your confidence too.
Absolutely. The women who said they work with financial professionals also reported feeling much more confident and secure about their retirement plans. They were sticking to their savings goals, and they felt more at peace about their financial future.
Peace of mind is priceless. And what about those specific risks we talked about? Living longer, healthcare costs.
Well, that's where the tailored solutions come in. The research talked about things like annuities, life insurance, long-term care insurance, even specific income strategies. These are tools that can be adjusted to fit your unique circumstances.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Not at all. And I think that's the key message here. Retirement planning for women, especially now, it really needs to be personalized, taking into account things like longer lifespans, potential caregiving needs, the possibility of divorce. All of these factors need to be on the table.
So the big takeaway for our listeners is this. Even though women are gaining more financial power, there are some unique risks to consider when it comes to retirement. Feeling unsure is normal, but it's definitely something you can address.
Absolutely. And here's something to think about as we wrap up. Knowing that you have the potential to live a long, full life, what steps can you take today to really prepare for those later years and build that financial
That's a
confidence?
journey,
It
right?
is,
Yeah.
and the sooner you start, the smoother it will be.
Great advice. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for having me. This was a great conversation.
Thanks for listening.